to let us know what you think, what you know about that celebration and what we don't know?
Yeah, what I do know is the county is planning like a celebration of San Bruno Mountain for May 11th and May 24th. And they're going to have several events, most of them up in the Saddle area. And RL had asked if we were interested in participating, but then when we had our natural resources management meeting on February 7th, I got the impression that the county does not have room for us to participate up at the Saddle area because of limited parking. But we could do something here in town or down, like you had suggested, Glenn, that we do a hike near the slide area where the native plants are returning in Allen Buckeye. That might be really good. And also, I've been getting inquiries and responding on Facebook, residents of Brisbane. People have been seeing piping up on the mountain, like irrigation piping. And that's exactly what it is, because there is a project underway. I believe it's sponsored by U.S. Fish and Wildlife or it might be U.S. Fish and Game, whoever is the property owner for the lower Allen Buckeye Canyons. They are doing a restoration project for large trees. So we are, and they'll need irrigation to get started. So it's sort of a mitigation for those slides that happened. So that might be a really good idea to plan. What did you think, Glenn?
I think it's a good idea, but we need somebody who's pretty expert who could guide a hike like that.
I think Dr. David Nelson might have an expert who came and looked at the slide right after the slide that could help guide a hike like that, or maybe someone who's working on the restoration project.
You're better connected in that way than I am.
Well, I guess then the question is, does the committee want to help sponsor an event like that?
The only thing is, it would be competing, I guess, with what the county is up to. And I don't know, do we want to do that? Do we care? That kind of question.
I would agree with you, but to be a me too and be trying to compete for who's going to go to what. Yeah. I second what you're saying, Glenn. To tack on and try to draw audience from one to the other, unless they're quite distinct, we should just do our own thing in our own time.
Okay, maybe that's best then. Are we going to help publicize this county thing? Do we know what it is?
No.
Since we don't have any information, I was going to suggest perhaps we put this to the events subcommittee and have them figure out what the event is, if there's a place for OSEC, and if they have the appetite for helping and getting the rest of us to help.
All right, I'll do some investigate as part of the events committee. I will do some further investigation.
So are we tabling this?
Yep.
Knowing that the events committee we're going to get more information for next month?
Yes. If we figure out what's going on by our next meeting, we should be able to take action.
Good. Very good.
I still like the hike idea,
I
but
do
some
too.
other time. Maybe after they plant the trees would be a good time, so that those could be shown off to people and it could be explained what's going on.
I'll also find out more about that project so that we can maybe publish something in the blast, so that instead of just on, Facebook answers, because people get concerned when they see different things on the mountain.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to get that information out in a more official manner.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it Alero and Alhad? Excellent. Thank you for your patience. I think we're ready for you now. Thanks.
All right. Okay, so it is on. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alero Moju. I'm with the County of San Mateo Office of Sustainability. Oh, sorry. department as of yesterday. And I am our BayREN rep for the single family program. And I'm going to allow my colleague to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alhad Vighe. I'm also here at the San Mateo County Sustainability Department. Still getting used to that. And I work primarily on our municipal building electrification programs through the San Mateo County Energy Watch. And I also help Alero with BayREN. So I'm here to take notes and supplement the presentation.
All right. Well, thank you all for your time and for your willingness to give us some feedback on a new program design for our single family program. Next slide, please. So here's a quick thing. No survey for you all because you're not you are community members, but we're not seeking your input as community members, but members of the committee here today. I'll talk a little bit about the meeting objectives. I'll do a little introduction about BayREN, just in case you're not as familiar with the acronym that I've been saying over and over again. And I will discuss the new proposed program. So what we really would like to do is, one, let you know how our current single-family program works, and then also introduce the new program, and then also solicit some feedback as representatives of your community here in the city of Brisbane. So what is BayREN? So BayREN stands for the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, and it's a coalition of all 9 Bay Area counties that work together to help promote energy reduction or use reduction, greenhouse gas reduction, water, and the like. And we work on residential side of things as well as the business and municipal side of things. They have multiple program areas. I specifically work on the residential programs, the codes and standards, and the workforce development side of things. And the program itself, no one actually works for BayREN, but it's administered through the Association of Bay Area Governments. And so the program lead for the single family program is homed at MTC, Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and ABAG over in San Francisco. So our current single family program, well, overall, our program is funded through the CPUC through ratepayer funds. And our single family program has about a $8 to $9 million budget, and that includes an incentive budget. All of the different counties also get outreach and marketing budgets to help promote the program. Currently, we have incentives for different energy efficiency and electrification measures. We also have a contractor network, so we do some of the vetting for just general residents so that they're not trying to figure out, okay, do they know how to do this work, and so on and so forth. And then we also have a no-cost energy advisor service available to residents across the Bay Area. So the graphic that you have in front of you demonstrates the different upgrades that we currently provide. So right now we have water heating, wall insulation, heating and cooling through HVAC, so attic insulation, air sealing, and duct replacement. In the past, we've had additional measures for induction stoves or electric stoves and also for electric dryers. Our incentive budget, we had a lot of people interested in the program, which is great, but we had to sort of shift funds around. So it's been reduced to these measures that you see here. So here's...
Can you go back one slide?
Yeah.
So it no longer includes a new panel, electric panel?
Yeah, no, I don't believe so. I think through Peninsula Clean Energy, you are able to get a panel upgrade if you need to after you do install like a heat pump water heater, heat pump HVAC system. But through BayREN, that's not something that we're currently offering.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's a little bit of a high-level overview of our impact in 2023, and this is across the Bay Area. So $6.25 million in rebates were dispersed. Over 9,000 measures were implemented. We had over 1,800 inquiries with our home energy advisor, and almost 6,000 homes were upgraded. And so the way that BayREN works, I might be getting a little bit into the weeds, is that we have these business cycles where we ask for funding again from the CPUC, we submit a proposal, they approve it, we get the funds. And right now we have funds for the next 4 years. And under the CPUC, we are classified as an equity program. Next slide, please. So the whole point is that we are meant to fill gaps. So we're supposed to look at the entire landscape and say, okay, how are people not being served and how can we serve them? And we're supposed to really center the program around equity. And, you know, there's a pretty broad way of understanding that. And I'll get into it very shortly, how we've interpreted that and how we hope to move forward with equity and filling gaps. So this was just a quick high level. I thought this was good to show you all, just because we do know the decarbonization space is quite convoluted. There's a lot of different incentives out there coming from different parts of government, from the local to the federal side to state as well. And it can be overwhelming for anyone, including myself, someone who this is my life outside of my personal time, and even in my personal time too at times. So I understand how difficult it can be, and I can't imagine just being a layperson trying to navigate all of this. And so one thing we're really trying to focus on is not just the filling the gaps and the equity, but also making sure it's something that's simple and easy and accessible. So with this new program design, for almost the last year, all 9 counties have been coming together to have a discussion as to like, how can we actually fill gaps and meet these equity criteria that we said we were going to do with this program. And then through discussion and through many discussions, it was determined that it might be good for us to look at moderate income households specifically. That doesn't mean that the program is not accessible to people who don't fit that below moderate income. And the way we're defining that is up to 120% of the area median income for San Mateo County. So for one individual like myself, it's up to I believe close to $145,000 a year. And for a family of 4, it's over $200K. So anyone who falls below that. And then we also were trying to do some more engagement with families and homes that have limited English proficiency, so families that predominantly speak a language other than English at home. And then also be really mindful in making sure that we're accessing communities that are pollution burdened. So I'm going to read this off the slide. I know that's terrible, but this is the proposed goal conceptually of this new program, is to promote resilience, health, comfort, safety, energy affordability, and energy savings through doing whole home upgrades for households that wouldn't be able to access or afford it on their own. So this is just a quick recap of what we currently provide and the upgrades that we have. So we do have some electrification measures there when we have for the water heater as well as for the HVAC system, but most of them are focused around energy efficiency. And so in the next slide, you'll see that those are the 2 areas that are being cut out of the new proposed program. So it's proposed that we really just focus on the energy efficiency side of things and let all the different programs that are doing all the electrification work do the electrification work. But I'll get into a little bit more detail. We're not just leaving people to hang dry, but I'll explain a little bit more soon. So this is a quick high-level overview of the entire program as proposed. First is to connect with a comprehensive concierge service. And so this is different from our energy advisor, which is very low touch. This is I'm sitting with you, we're developing a plan. And then after that, they're going to do that detailed scope of work, that plan, and look at costs. What is it going to cost for us to do this work in your home? And then the third part of that is actually doing the work and installing the measures. And then the last one is where the electrification piece, like I was saying, you're not left to hang dry. You're not just on your own, but that concierge service will connect and work with whomever the resident to be able to access all the different rebates that do exist for electrification. And a lot of times that's going to be in partnership for us with like Peninsula Clean Energy, who's going to be starting up some new programs to facilitate that too. So here's a little bit more information about the breakdown of the different steps. So one, you're connecting with that concierge. You get the call. They'll tell you whether or not you're eligible, and they will give you an assessment and see how your home is performing. So think sort of like a home energy score for the house and see how efficient your home is, since we are really focusing on efficiency here. After that, we'll go ahead and do the cost estimates and develop the plan for that work. Unlike the way that the current BayREN contractor network operates, this will be a smaller scale team of contractors who've been vetted and probably will have predetermined pricing for the works that they will be doing with these residents.
Part of it, or?
We're going to get into that very
And so,
shortly.
I guess I'm just lost. You're a referral service, or you are the San Mateo government, or?
Myself,
Because you said no one works for BayREN.
no one works for BayREN. The way that BayREN operates is that we're a coalition of all 9 counties. So there's representatives from all of the 9 counties that help BayREN operate within each county itself. And there are leads for the different program areas for BayREN. So my role,
People to rebates, or what is it you're?
yeah, so for BayREN, it's for this program specifically, for the single family program, our role is outreach and marketing.
Okay.
And it's making sure that our residents know about BayREN's program and their ability to participate, making sure that our staff, like Adrian, have what they need and also have, the data to be able to come to your committee, for example, and say, these are the impacts, this is how we've used these resources as well. So that's really the way that BayREN works. It's really trying to take a regional approach towards going towards our decarbonization goals. So that's the benefit of it. So yes, that's how the contractor network will be a lot smaller, and they will help the families or residents do what they need to do. So it won't be as extensive as before, and hopefully the pricing will be better for that reason.
So does this mean that the current network of BayREN approved contractors, if they only do electrification, they've got to find some other place to vet them, or?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Tech Clean California, they have their own contractor network. Peninsula Clean Energy has their own contractor network. So for example, if you want to participate in Peninsula Clean Energy's on-bill financing, you have to work with one of their contractors. And a lot of their contractors are BayREN contractors. The thing is, there won't be as big of a database or uniform space to find these different contractors per se. But that's, we're soliciting feedback. So if that's something that you're interested in seeing, any part of this, it's free game. So, yes.
I still don't care.
Go ahead.
So
I'm happy to clarify.
This middle-income person.
Yes, please.
And people don't want to hear how confused I am. So BayREN will pay for this whole project, or it's just is this middle-income person left on the hook for part of the project, or?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. So there are options when it comes to it. The thought was that if someone is low income, for all of the energy efficiency side of things, it'd be covered.
Okay.
And if you are moderate income, there would be some sort of a copay. And and I'll show you in very shortly, but it's between $500 to $1,000 for the entire home of retrofit for energy efficiency. Okay. Yes.
I kind of like the focus on energy efficiency, especially because the amount of money that you have to spend is not that huge, considering how big the Bay Area is. But I'm wondering if somebody wanted to start with electrification or something, would they get referred back to BayREN first? I mean, you say you refer people to other programs if necessary. Is there a reciprocal arrangement? Because energy efficiency really should be first.
Yeah. No, and thank you so much for that thought. And I do think energy efficiency is like not the lesser of the two children, but gets forgotten a lot of the times when it comes to when you're doing the home upgrades. We're so electrification focused at times. And so this is, I think, part of the reason why a lot of the counties wanted this to be an energy efficiency or saw that as beneficial. The hope is a lot of times we are in communication. So BayREN does have partnerships with Tech Clean California, for example, and with the different community choice aggregators across the Bay Area, including our own. So the hope is that we would be working together to promote and cross-promote each other's programs and create some sort of unified and clear way of directing residents.
Just a follow up to that, do you have kind of a sheet for homeowners saying, if you're thinking about upgrading your home, this is what you should do first, this is what you should do next, this is what you should do after that? I think that would be kind of helpful.
Yeah, so the county, we did a pilot looking at the cost to decarbonize 10 homes across the county. And one of the things, we have little flip books for the different homes that were upgraded and they weren't upgraded, but that we were planning to upgrade. And it kind of walks through what you should do and helps tell that story in that way. But that's something that we can definitely develop are these handouts and these marketing materials that help outline in a very clear one-pager, hey, think about doing it this way and here's why. So totally feasible. Next slide, please. No worries. So comments and thoughts really on that concierge service. It is going to, quick summary, people call, hey, I'm interested in participating. They vet whether or not they can participate through the different eligibility requirements that I went through. And if they are able to participate, they just start the onboarding and understanding the home and what needs to be done.
So just to clarify, the current new program that you're thinking about doing won't address any electricity. It will only address insulation, double pane windows, and sealing up any leaks and that type of thing in the house.
No windows.
No windows. Doesn't include windows.
No.
It only includes insulation
Yeah.
and,
duct work and air sealing.
wait, duct work?
Like if you have leaky ducts, they can help with that.
You mean like for central heating?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the third thing?
Like leaky windows. So they can do sealing of windows, but they're not going to replace the windows
It's really expensive.
yeah.
Okay, so just sealing if there's a leak around the outside edge of a window or door?
Yeah. And then as well as the insulation.
So I have a question.
Yes.
It piggybacks off of what Glenn and Michelle was saying. So the numbers you showed at the beginning, the $6 million pot that you have, and you have close to 6,000 customers. I mean, that's $1,000 per request. I mean, that's not a lot of money to do this type of work.
Yeah.
So how does one get, if I was low income, how would I get it all done by BayREN?
Yeah, you would get it all done. The thing is, we would just be able to service much fewer people across the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So we're talking maybe in the hundreds from what we've been shown. If we were to do these whole home direct install retrofits for people.
So what's your average, what's your average contribution to folks that do apply?
Yeah, so it depends. So I'm going to quickly go through this and then I will show you guys the numbers. But are there any questions that I could clarify around this concierge concept?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of information would the applicant need to provide to the concierge on the spot to be able to find out if they qualify? Like what kind of documentation, what kind of, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't think that's been determined yet. So something that would, since income is part of it, something that would demonstrate where their income is. I don't know if it's their past tax documents or.
And, because it seems to me like budget-wise, it's kind of interesting, like how much is being spent on marketing and determining qualification versus how much is actually being spent on getting the work done.
Yeah. I would say like as far as like marketing and operations side of things, so like I was saying, it's about 8 million total. 6.1 of that is towards rebates. The other part of that too is we have to pay the people who implement the program. So the implementers, so like right now we have Clear Result and they do it. And so we have to pay them to run the energy advisor service and to run the rebates and to run the contractor network and all of those things. And then for us as counties, we get, I think like 90K, and that it's all of the money we can use for outreach. And staff time to do the outreach and marketing materials. So any printing, any mailers, anything, that's what we have to help promote that within the county.
So it seems like there's not much left to actually do the work.
And when you're saying doing the work, you mean the incentive budget, the 6 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, in general, the budget isn't huge. Like when you're comparing it to like Peninsula Clean Energy's like, incentive budget or that like other state or, Inflation Reduction Act, we don't have that big of a budget. So it's how do we do the best we can with what we have?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So for program participation, these are, as we had discussed, some of the examples of the work that would be done. And like I was mentioning earlier, you would be working with a vetted contractor to do this, just that the network pool would be much, much smaller and focused on weatherization, remediation, and in the hopes of making the home healthier, more comfortable, resilient, cost efficient, and electrification ready. Yes.
2 questions. One, is your contractor network adequate to meet the expected demand? I mean, that's been kind of a bottleneck with some programs. So are there enough contractors? And 2, to encourage people to do this, do you give them estimates of cost savings, or is that kind of?
Yeah, that's something that we're hoping to do is look at on-bill cost savings. There are a few things out there right now. I don't have them with me when it comes to how much you'd save, especially with the insulation, that energy efficiency side of things without adding any electrical work to the home. So that's probably one of the bigger marketing things that we're hoping to push too. And, because the size of the program and how many people we could actually serve with this new program, the contractor network would be fine. But when we're talking about scale-wise, like across the Bay Area, do we have a big enough contractor network? No. So we do have a workforce development program that just was stood up this January. It used to be part of the single family program, but it really focuses on the youth side of workforce development, so early pipeline. So something that we're working on is building out that pipeline and trying to make sure that we can have that workforce to meet the demand that we're projected to have.
If the CPUC increases your budget adequately?
Well, as of right now, it's really just understanding what the landscape, the workforce landscape is, and where do we have those gaps. And there's money out there, so it might just be like moving things around and just making sure people have the information that we need. We don't know yet, so we're looking at it.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. Any comments? I think there were a few earlier about the upgrades. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the previous slide just shows like the upgrades that are being proposed. Thank you.
Alero, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
So it kind of tags onto one of Glenn's questions, the small contractor pool that you're going to have for this program. Are those contractors going to be specifically like dedicated to this program, or are you basically competing for their time with whatever other work they can get in kind of the open market?
That's a great great question. I imagine that given how many homes, like there's not going to be a lot of homes, like, scale wise, but I think enough to keep them busy. So I would imagine the hope would be that they would only be participating in this program.
Okay.
I don't know, we haven't had any hard defined rules around that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I apologize if I missed this. This is kind of going back to some of your kind of very early on slides, but do you have data? Does BayREN have data on who has gotten the rebates in the past? I'm curious, like, is this shift in focus needed because all the rebates are getting gobbled up by higher income people who don't need them as much, and we're not getting them to the people who really need them the most?
Yes, that's correct. I actually didn't include this in this presentation, but essentially less than 45% of the participating people qualify as moderate income, and then less than 1% are homes that speak a language other than English. So we're realizing, what we've realized really about the program is that we've been serving people who are going to do the work anyways. So regardless of the rebates they were going to do it. So that's not what we intended.
Isn't what you intended to reduce greenhouse gases and energy use?
In part, that's like overall the BayREN's like mission to speak.
So you accomplished your mission with the places that you did install it.
With the greenhouse gas, yes, I think that's the part we excelled. I think the problem is that under the CPUC, we're an equity program, so we're not looking at emissions as a determinant of how successful the program is per se. So, yeah.
This may be beyond your purview, but it seems to me that a lot of people who are under that, what did you say, $145,000 for a single person, are probably renters. And so I was just wondering, this is a really complicated problem because people who live in a poorly insulated house bear the discomfort. But it's up to the landlord to fix it. So is there and it's very consistent with your equity focus, is there anything that you can think of to do to reach out to landlords or to advise tenants how to reach out to their landlords?
We don't have any advice that we're giving tenants at the moment. What we do is try to do direct outreach to landlords. That's easier in the multifamily than it is in the single family. And so that's a limitation of the current program. Some things have come up in discussion. Nothing's been finalized to resolve the split incentive issue, which is, I think, the biggest concern around doing the upgrades within rental properties. But that's not to say that this wouldn't be a good program to explore that. I'm not trying to feed anyone anything, but I'm grateful for the feedback and hope that you guys are able to think expansively as to what this program could be, despite what has already been being proposed.
Two things that come to mind just by the very nature of the qualification on income. If it's a landlord, chances are they're too high to qualify. And then the other question is about the contractor network. Will they have access to what I would call bulk discount buying, so that that helps to bring down the cost of installing insulation, and all of that? Or is it just going to be, okay, well, our deal for a piece of R7 is, $30 or whatever. And I have no idea what that insulation costs these days, but do you get my drift? I mean, is there any kind of pulled together resource that you guys are promoting for basic materials that are common across all of the usage?
Yeah, at the moment, no, because we're at this stage where we're like, okay, we've spent this amount of time trying to throw something, not try to throw something together, but trying to create something that should meet the goals of the program we said we were going to have. And so this is where getting feedback about this and if people have knowledge as to how easy or not easy it is to do something helps create a realistic picture as to how feasible and how impactful the proposed program could be.
I mean, based on the numbers, it looks like you may have to bring down the number of homes that you go into to do a good job in saving energy.
Yeah.
Because currently the numbers just don't show me that you would be able to be successful in getting 6,000 homes insulated or whatever the case is, just based on the math.
Yeah.
The Department of Energy used to have, I don't know if it still does have it, but it had something called, I think it was a low-income weatherization program that offered rebates on certain things. Are you kind of mining the other energy efficiency rebates that are out there and helping people bundle them together? Because that really might help some people to afford an overhaul if they can get more money than what BayREN can provide.
Yeah. So the thing with BayREN is that for LIHEAP is the acronym for the program I believe you're referring to, is that they usually come from the same funding pool, and so you cannot double those funds. So this program, literally, you would have to choose if you're a low income, whether you wanted to participate in that program or if you wanted to participate in BayREN. But there's this gap, and this is why that it was proposed to focus on moderate income for people who are between 80% and 120% of the area median income. So just those people who might have some, like a little bit of something in savings, they're not going to spend that little that they have on doing these retrofits. So just focusing on that group of people.
Is this something your concierge would help those people figure out?
Yes. So that's where the eligibility piece comes in. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is the last one. This is the electrification part of it. We're not offering rebates as proposed for electrification. We're offering guidance, help, and just consistency when it comes to working with someone as well in accessing those rebates that do exist for those measures. Next slide, please. Any thoughts on that aspect?
One of the hardest things about electrification is the quality of your internal system in your house. We can't do any further electrification without a complete upgrade, you know, because we have a very old panel, can't even get replacement parts
Yeah.
for it anymore.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and without including that as the step one, you can't take step two.
Yeah. And there are
And there are many,
yeah.
many houses, especially in Brisbane, that are like that.
Yeah.
We're running up against that problem as well.
Yeah.
I think if you want feedback.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
want-
All the feedback, please.
It's not very sexy what you're offering, and I think Glenn brought the point up that what it has a big impact. It's going to save greenhouse gases or whatever, but it's just not very sexy saying, you know, you can get some weatherproofing here. You know, I think you need to speak to the values of people and say, hey, are you tired of the draft? Are you tired of the high bills? Are you tired? You know, really kind of sell it, because personally here when I was like, oh, you're not doing any rebates on electric heaters or water pumps or anything, I was like, okay, great. Yeah, not so interested. You know, now is that right? Probably not. I probably should be very interested in the drafts in my house, but I'm not, you know. So I think you need to sell it to people. Say, tired of the high bills? We'll get rid of that draft, help you get rid of that draft. Tired of, you know, of your heat going out the door? I think that's what it needs to me, you know, no offense.
Absolutely. I'm trying to be as neutral as possible.
Right.
In presenting this to you all. The marketing of it really is around that resiliency, the health, the comfort, as you were mentioning. So when we are giving or promoting messaging and sharing that out, that's what it will be focusing on, those aspects, not we're saying the way that's done is that by doing these upgrades, but we're not using energy efficiency as the talk, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the biggest motivator for many people is financial.
Yeah.
And so as you market this, you really need to maybe have some really solid numbers on how much you can save on your energy bill by doing these quote unquote simple things, and how quickly they can make that investment back. Because that's what people are really looking at, especially as energy prices go through the roof.
Yeah.
And that's where, it's all about, well, what's it going to do for me?
Right. To
You know?
Michelle's point, if people can't do that calculus, they don't want to be on the hook to some contractor. It's like they want to know there's some return on investment there, particularly if they're not starting with that much anyway. The last thing they need is a bill from, and then are they left on their own once they do with this contractor? Are you still the concierge? Or if it's a shitty job, will you intervene and say, no, you got to finish this for this person?
Oh, yeah. I think the thought of having a small network is to have that quality control. So that's something like that price gouge, making sure that's not happening, like
Right.
more control over the pricing and also the quality of the work that's being done. So I think that's the intent behind the contractor network.
And one other thing is that the type of work that you're talking about means inviting someone into your home. And people are feeling very insecure about that type of thing currently with the amount of escalation of, backhanded crimes, et cetera, et cetera. So one thing I think would be really important is that your contractors are bonded. Not just, oh, hey, Joe Blow's a good guy, but that they are truly vetted and bonded before they're in the program, so that there's a level of trust that needs to be overcome when you invite a contractor into your house, or a person who's going to assess your energy into your house, into your home.
Yes.
So I think that that's a very hard threshold to get over with, especially with people who don't understand English as their first language. And so the fact that you can clearly state that you've bonded these contractors, that you've assured that they're honest, upright, and not going to come back and steal from you in the middle of the night or steal from you while they're in your house is a big deal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't know how you're going to do that, but
Me
that I think really is one of the one of the hurdles that you need to get over.
Yeah.
Require it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a couple of questions. One of them is the CPUC looking at this as a pilot program? Because thinking about this amount of money over 9 counties is really insulting, considering the magnitude of the job that there is to do. And I just spaced out my other question. If I think of it, I'll come back to it later. But just curious about how the CPUC is regarding this. It's just a pathetic amount of money, really.
It's
do you
not
know?
a pilot program.
It's not.
So BayREN is just over 10 years old. It started off as a pilot. It was the first regional energy network. So there's a host of different regional energy networks across California. I think San Diego Regional Energy Network is like the newest to join us, but there's like rural, there's SoCal, there's, pardon? Oh, 3C. So 3C Run, which is like Monterey, St. Louis Obispo area. So there's runs everywhere now. And no longer pilots, and kind of paved the way for like BayREN. So sadly, the budget is, a little smaller, but at the same time, we do have authority to, or like we can go and ask for more after this next funding cycle. But we do plan on piloting this, whatever gets determined after we get feedback, and seeing how that works. So it's not just going to be like, we're going.
If there's all these regional energy networks, why aren't you just duplicating one of their successful programs? I don't understand why you are reinventing the wheel.
The thing is, the reason why it's a regional approach is that all of the regions are different. And so the needs that exist between regions and even counties or even cities is different. And I think that that's one of the beauties of like us having our own regional energy network is that we have that flexibility to try to accommodate what we need regionally, which might not necessarily be the same elsewhere.
I just remembered my other question. So when a person gets in touch with the concierge, does somebody acting as concierge actually come to the house and evaluate it, or how is that done? I mean, because there are different ways of assessing energy efficiency. We know something about that here in Brisbane because we spent a long time working on a building energy efficiency program. So, there are these online tools that you can use. How does your energy use compare to somebody else, comparable sized house with their energy use? How does that work?
That hasn't been determined. Yeah. So the how the concierge is going to go about auditing the home, we haven't really even dug into that yet because we don't even know if we should have a concierge and if that's what the concierge should be doing.
I don't know if you should call it concierge. That sounds very like nouveau riche or something. Like, if you're targeting is an equity program and you're targeting lower income, I think concierge is a little bit pretentious, but that's just me. I don't know.
Thank you.
I kind of like the term concierge. It's personal service, but and I think that's really important for people to have that personal connection. I mean, next to the finance part, I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's where we're going next. Next slide, please. So here's a quick overview of a sample project cost specifically for the energy efficiency and remediation part of things. So we're predicting that cost will be close to $5,000 per home. And next slide, please.
Replace leaky windows makes it sound like you're actually replacing the windows.
Yeah. You need to change that. Yes.
Seal, leaky.
Repair.
Seal. Yes. Yes. We will fix that. Thank you.
It's just a singular window and
That's a
Well,
good
you only get
question.
one for 400.
exactly.
I mean, it's just an idea of the cost. It's by no means going, like it says in the little thing in red, not final. Definitely imperfections there, but just for us to have something to start working off of. So essentially what you have on the left side are costs if you were more on the moderate income side of things. And then on the right side is the cost if you were low income. So the idea is that we say BayREN or similar on the right side because there are alternatives to BayREN to get this work done. BayREN's not alone. But for that moderate income, it would really be BayREN is the source for you. So and as we said, the idea or the hope is
Sorry,
that...
could you just repeat what you just said? I was reading the thing and I missed
No,
it.
no worries. Yeah. So I was saying on the right where it says BayREN or similar for the cost for the low income people, there are other programs they can participate in. So they have a choice as to where they participate. Whereas on the left for the moderate income folks, there's nothing really other than BayREN out there for them. And the hope is that there would be some level of contribution from the moderate income folks from $500 to $1,000. We're meant to vet how people would feel about, as a moderate income person, how you would feel about having to pay some money towards doing these upgrades. And I don't know how to ask people, would you prefer no cost or do you mind paying $1,000 for this? Because I think most of us would prefer for it to be free.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who has enough income that I don't qualify for a lot of programs, but little enough money that I have to make choices and can't between important things sometimes. And so, I think that you're right. You can't ask that question because everybody would rather have something free. I think the question maybe becomes like, I had it in my head, but is this enough? Is this enough to motivate you? Is this enough to make it workable? And I don't know if you'll get a lot of really useful answers, because I think people just know that they need to be like, oh no, I need more money.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
This is pretty half-baked.
Yeah, let's move on.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it because there are things we just can't afford. We've done a lot on our own, but there are things that are just out of reach, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Next slide, please. So this is a little bit of the cost breakdown for electrification, just based off the measures that are out there. And again, on the left, it's for moderate income, and on the right is the out-of-pocket cost presumed for someone who is low income to be able to do the electrification measures.
And does that include things like the panel upgrade?
No, it's
Okay.
purely like kind of what we outlined before, where it'd be the HVAC, the heat pump water heater, the dryer,
Yeah.
induction stove.
That's not going to get me very far. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of old homes here.
Yeah.
So without that panel upgrade.
There are programs for that. I don't.
Inflation Reduction Act.
Inflation Reduction Act does, but that's also an income qualifying, and then Peninsula Clean Energy too, if you participate in their program, which is not an income restricted program.
I have a comment. If you're asking community members, if they're willing to pay more, if they're at a moderate income, it's maybe the angle is, do you think that climate change is a big enough issue that you would be willing to kind of take this option so that more people could benefit from this program, that the dollars could be spread further?
Yeah.
That's a good angle.
Yeah, it is. I think too, Peninsula Clean Energy does these studies on like market research, and they found actually talking about health resonates more with people, their individual health, their family's health, than necessarily climate change, sadly, but understandably. Next slide. I think we're about done. So this is about the renter issue that I addressed before. For the sake of time, I think it'd be great to just get any general feedback or thoughts. This is pretty much what has been thought of as conceptually as a program that we could do regionally for our residents.
So I actually think this is fantastic. My problem with all of the energy rebate incentive and other programs is that there's too many and I don't even know where to start, and I don't know what can be stacked, and I don't know what can't be stacked. So I would hope that your concierge would be someone that could help people manage that landscape. And I also think that by focusing on that's the wrong way to say that. By not focusing on the electrification part, you guys are creating a niche that's really important. So as long as you also provide the energy of what to do next for electrification, I think that, just working on making your home more efficient is a huge step. It's low-hanging fruit, and yet it's something that so many people overlook. And I kind of feel like that might be a Bay Area problem because there's so many engineers, everybody just wants the next gadget. So I think this is a really important area for you guys to be in, or for someone to be in, whoever, right? So thank you.
Thank you for feedback.
I think so too. And one thing that you could point out is that if somebody is considering going to a heat pump, say later on, that the more efficient their house is, the less of that they will need. I think that's a connection that sometimes gets missed.
Definitely.
I agree that it's a powerful thing. I just think work should be done to how you reach out, how you sell it to people.
Yeah.
Whether it's health, the environment, money, and I wouldn't touch this renter thing. It just seems like such a convoluted thing. I'm going to get some improvements done, but by the way, you don't own the building, and blah 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 blah. And I don't know. That seems like a real kind of.
So maybe the better answer is to look into what you can do for landlords, right? It's how do you incentivize landlords to fix their properties for the renters?
But if the money is an equity program and diversity and stuff, then the landlord's probably not going to.
That's why she's saying.
Yeah, it's that, no, it's exactly that. It's because usually if it's equity and low income and possibly non-English speaking,
Right.
then quite likely they might be renting. And so by
No, understood.
asking the landlords to fix the property, you might be targeting a group That said, there are lots of
But are
wealthy
the
people
funds-
who also.
Jason, we really need you to speak closer
But
to
are
the,
the
speak into
funds
the
going
mic.
to be available to Mr. Gottrock's landlord as opposed to the people that maybe may not speak English? So this program.
Like this close, close.
It's on. It's on.
Get
Thank you.
closer.
Thank you. Green light. Bean's on. Thanks. I was not talking that loud. Yes, good. I'm leaning in. So I just don't, I don't know how that's going to work because the landlord's going to have a completely different IRS 1040 than the people living there. So if the money is dedicated to people lower income, then I don't know how you get around that. Though they deserve it. Though they deserve it.
I mean, you have a nice pot of money to work with. It's just going to be figuring out the eligibility requirements, I think, and being able to stay true to that and provide probably enough funds to get the work completely done. So thank you.
Thank you.
You might want to base it with landlords on what the rent is,
That's a
based
good,
on the rent in the area. And go from there.
yeah, I mean, I think Michelle had a very good idea because if you rent as percentage of the, at median area rent might allow you to target some of those less bougie properties that the landlords maybe aren't fixing because they can't afford to.
It still leaves behind the people with rent control, but it's a great first step.
We don't have rent control in San Mateo other than the universal rent control, so
Yeah, but BayREN includes San Francisco.
that's true. Okay.
Yeah, or maybe even focusing on landlords that have more low and median income or service more Section 8 people or, those,
Yeah, Section 8 would be a good,
I mean, those are your poorest and probably most diverse
Yeah.
renters.
Yeah.
Probably living in a drafty place.
yeah. I mean, I hear from people who rent Section 8 and they never feel like their homes are up to snuff, so.
But
Or many of
you
them.
give money to a landlord, or is it only for individual single family?
Well, a landlord could own a single family. So when we say single family, the way we define it is 1 to 4 units. So that does include, a segment of multifamily properties per se. The landlord could participate in that program. There are ways that you could vet that they're serving people who meet the equity criteria, and some of you guys have mentioned that this evening, and serve those people, but work through the landlord. So. All right.
Okay.
Yeah?
Thank you.
And if you go towards the very last slide, well, maybe just like a show of hands, if you feel that this program meets the needs of your community, or comment.
I feel like you really need to put a program together. This is really not, there were so many no answers or not quite, or this is an estimate or whatever, that it would be hard to make that kind of determination at this point. It's not fully baked.
It's intentionally not cemented because there's different ways of creating programs.
Yeah, I get that.
We could have done it in a way where we co-created it with the community, but we didn't do that. So if we came this presentation is going to go directly to community members. So if we come to them and say, hey, this is what we come up with and this is what we're doing, we're not necessarily going to get what we need and know for actually serving our constituents in the way they need to be served. So we wanted to leave some room for
This
that.
is why I'm saying that you should have really concrete examples, have the numbers down, make sure that you know what the qualifications are. So it's hard to really say whether this will fit the needs of our community because there are too many unknowns currently that you haven't determined.
Okay.
That's
Thank
what
you.
I'm saying.
I disagree with respect. I think the way you've targeted the income level does fit our community. We have a lot of small houses and relatively moderate incomes in this community. And so I think in that respect, it does. I think a lot of the houses in this community are probably very energy inefficient. So in that respect, it does. I realize a lot of the fine print is missing, but I think the skeleton of what you laid out makes some sense, actually. So I would say conditionally, yes, and assuming that you're using this grilling we've given you to put in some of those details, because that's what we're trying to do, is explain how it can better fit our community. I would say conditionally, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it has a lot of potential. So keep going.
Yes.
Let us know what you got.
Will do. Thank you.
And stay with the positives. I got thrown off by that we're not electrifying. Here's these 9 other programs. We're not them. It's just became more confusing as you went along. This is what you do. You're getting a healthier, lower cost, less drafty environment. This is what we're here for.
Yes.
Right? And then numbers that you can kind of stand with budget and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you could actually do a pilot house or use one of the ones you've already done and demonstrate some cost savings on, heating bills and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be powerful for people.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the only other one thing that I thought of is, people kind of know you guys as BayREN and what you do. If you change midstream, just think about, everything on the internet already says BayREN does this.
Take down the old stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
The new
That's fantastic. Any other closing words? Anyone?
I think the presentation will be made available afterwards. At the very end, there is a QR code if you want to leave anonymous feedback or solicit if someone heard this online and wasn't able to be here today and they wanted to provide some anonymous feedback. Please do take advantage of that opportunity and do so. Thank you all so much for allowing us to be here today. You're the first group that we've been able to share this concept with, and I'm just super grateful to have your insights and thoughts and, see even little things like just trying to get that like cost saving, see if we can get something in there before we go to community members to make sure it's a little bit more realistic and enticing, and just how we frame that messaging to different constituents is very useful feedback for where we are right now. And you guys gave so many tremendous, great insights as to your overall thoughts on the program design and where it could go. So I'm very thankful. Alhad, I'm really sorry I've hogged the mic. I don't know if you have any other thoughts or any comments.
No, this was great. I have almost 3 pages of comments. So.
Well done.
This is recorded, so you can just watch it again later. Thank you, Alero.
Before you step away from the mic, Alero, first, huge thanks to you for coming and doing this and having us be your first group to present to. Second, the QR code, which I've left up on the screen, hopefully for long enough that anybody watching will have access to it. You mentioned at the beginning something about a survey. Is that a survey that will be available for the community that our communications team could send out through our city channels, perhaps, or is that being targeted in a specific way?
Yeah, so that survey is where we have to collect demographic information. There's always an option to say not to put your name or say you don't want to share certain things, but we are required to have people fill them out. So you all are fine, but direct community members, when we're trying to get that type of feedback, we do need them to do that. So it's not like an overall survey about the program.
Okay, so it's not something that it's not an online thing that people would go fill out. It's like an in-person, you're filling that out.
No, so the regional program is doing a survey on the program across the Bay Area.
Got it, okay.
And we're not involved in that. Grounded Research is doing that.
Got it,
So
okay.
There are people who are
Okay.
giving feedback through that.
Got it, thank you, sorry.
No, all good. Thank you
Appreciate
for
the
asking.
clarification. Absolutely, and thank you again to you both for being here in the flesh, in fact.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
So I believe the next item on the agenda is the letter to nurseries regarding invasive species. I'm moving on, even though hearings are not ready. Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
Okay,
So,
apologies.
a couple of weeks ago, I went to a local nursery, which I will not name, to buy some native plants. And when I was there, I saw for sale scabiosa. And this is, and I believe they also have
Where's my
periwinkle, vinca.
An ivy and.
put it in?
And we have communicated with this nursery many, many times. I spoke with, I believe, the plant buyer. She seemed to be in charge, and I pointed out the problematic nature of scabiosa in particular. And she said, "Well, we hadn't heard about that." I said, "Well, I didn't argue with her, but we have communicated with them many times before." Anyway, long story short, what she told me is there are a bunch of different kinds of scabiosa. Some of them are, she thought, non-invasive, and then I informed her that some of them were, so I called Shauna and got some Latin names. Anyway, I think we need to revise our letter to be more specific. I haven't actually gone over the list, but I know we just said scabiosa. We need to maybe make that section of our letter a little bit longer and a little bit more detailed. And I'm I'm going to suggest that we volunteer to visit nurseries in person and hand them letters where that's possible and speak with them about this. I was furious. I just thought, oh, come on, we've sent you this letter now for 6 or 7 or 8 years, and you've never heard of it? Give me a break.
Yeah.
Anyway, so maybe a more personal touch would be more persuasive, plus more detailed information. That's all I have to say about that.
I'll second that. I don't care if we're voting, I'm seconding it.
Do we have a copy of the current letter?
It was sent out with the packet, I believe.
No, it was not. Erin was just editing it. I'm pulling it up onto the screen now. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Let me see if I can get this view a little better here. Here, I'll put it there, and then let me hide those so they're out of your way. So there is the kind of main text of the letter, and then I can scroll down when you're ready to look at the list. And apparently this view has hidden the track changes, so I can talk about those later. Okay.
Start with this one? Yeah, yeah. And may I just agree with, Glenn and Barbara saying that, one definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if we've been sending this letter for 6 years, then the personal touch. And the question is, how far afield do we go? Do we go to, down to Daly City, Home Depot? But I think somebody to drop by with a little friendly visit, say, hey, this is the deal, and maybe they'll pay a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree.
Maybe we should send copies certified mail.
Well, sending them to Home Depot is,
Yeah.
on the individual level is a complete waste of time because those decisions are all made on a corporate level.
Yeah.
And they have no say over it. They don't even water the bloody plants, so.
Good point.
I think that we do need to specify the scabiosa, but I think most scabiosas are at risk of being invasive, even Fama Blue and some of the ones that are so popular.
Yeah, the Caucasia or Caucasia is ostensibly less so, but it's Atropurpurea that's the really.
You're not, I can't hear you, Shauna, sorry.
Scabiosa atropurpurea is the one that's really, really invasive. The other ones, they're not, I mean, even the Calflora and the Invasive Council aren't classifying those ones are, but they are not in maybe as sensitive of a habitat as we have here.
Although I've never seen the periwinkle blue ones on the mountain
That's
ever.
true.
And that when I spoke with this nursery manager, buyer, whatever she was, she indicated that scabious is a very popular plant and they would really like to keep selling it. So if we can give them any kind of an out that seems safe, I think that would be a good idea. I realize that it's probably not the best idea, but at least if they would quit selling the really evil ones, I think we would have made some progress.
What if we edited the letter as we're planning to do and shaped it up? And, not instead, but and when we kind of decide to make some rounds with saying, hey, we just enacted this invasive thing. I'm on OSEC. I thought I'd just show you some of these things that are on our list so that we'd have both. Like the letter goes out and maybe certify it, Barbara. And
not a bad idea.
What's that? $4? $8? I don't
So,
know.
yeah, not that much.
Like
that much,
8
right?
something.
Yeah?
Well, I
think
guess it
so.
depends. If we don't need a return certification, it's only
Right.
4 something. It's
Yeah.
8 something if you
Right.
need the return.
So
slip
certified,
back.
but then also we could divide it amongst ourselves to make a friendly visit saying, hey, we just passed this ordinance just to let you know what's going on here. And hey, I don't know if you know, but scabious is a real problem. You know, maybe do both. Maybe.
And if we send it by certified, it might be good to include, besides the letter, some photographs of the plants that are invasive. So more of almost a dedicated information packet explaining more.
It'd be nice if we could show some of San Bruno Mountain next to the trails that are infested with scabiosa. Unfortunately, it's not blooming right now, but it would be nice to get some pictures.
we have pictures.
Somebody has pictures.
I agree that pictures I think would be better. I would be, if I worked at a nursery and a wholesale nursery and somebody said, you know, this is a bad little planty. Are you sure you recognize it? I would be pretty offended and tell them to go blow it out their nose.
Wait, are you saying we shouldn't send pictures?
No, the pictures are fine, but are you sure, you know, the previous thing that Glenn had said about, you know, making sure that they're really certain about which plant these are. They know what these plants are. I mean, that's their job. Most of them are horticulturalists. They have had plant ID.
Got it.
Yeah, treat them on a different level. I mean, you're not dealing with a retail person who shucks, you know, 6 packs.
I think knowing your audience is a
Yeah.
second thing to, I mean, that's just something we should keep in mind. Like, these are business owners with not a lot of time, right? So we want to be, like, direct and to the point and give them a list and kind of no nonsense. They understand what invasive is, right? And that San Bruno Mountain is important. So I would say don't hit them with a packet, just give them the letter and the list. And I do love the certified mail idea.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions, and this first one is for Shauna. Are there any other plants on the list that's at the bottom of this letter where there are multiple cultivars that we need to elaborate? You know, we know scabiosa is one, but are there other ones that you happen to know off the top of your head that we need to be more specific about?
I always have trouble following this one. But you've got it alphabetical by common name. Oh, okay, that's why I'm never looking at it right. I think you should have it alphabetical by scientific name.
Okay.
And that being the. I find otherwise I don't look at common names because there are several that really irritates me. Also, having the ficus, there's just there's a lot of members of the ficus family that could be
Could you maybe
problematic, but
help
some
to
of them are
revise
not.
this list so that it's more specific and more useful to nursery people?
What is edible fig?
I have no idea how to do that. You seem like the most likely person who would know how to do that. The second question I was going to ask is, do we send this letter to wholesale nurseries?
I would.
It has, I think we looked at, on the list, it had been sent to like Pacific Nursery over in Colma, and I know that they've, I know they have a bunch of this stuff, because, yeah.
Yeah, because the Pacific Nursery serves a lot of garden contractors. So we do want them to know what we shouldn't be having.
So I just swapped out on the screen the list of nurseries that we had sent this to in the past.
I mean, we talked about taking Lowe's and Home Depot off this list in the past. I think we could probably go ahead and do that because, as Shauna pointed out once again, their choices are made at the corporate level and they have no interest.
I don't think we should take them off the
Okay.
list. And I think that we should also find out who the corporate purchaser is and try and also include them.
The Lowe's one is the now defunct one over there on Dubuque Avenue. That
Yeah, Dubuque's gone.
It's gone.
that's gone, just
But
gone.
there's still the one
in San Bruno.
well,
No,
there's
and
the
in
one
San
right
Francisco.
San Francisco and
in
San Bruno.
Francisco on Bay Shore, across from Flowercraft.
Yeah.
There's one
This
called
one?
Golden Gate Nursery in San Mateo. I don't see that on here, but I've been there and they have invasive plants. When I was there, I haven't been there for a couple of years. Golden Gate is, I'm sure, the name of it. Let me see. And it should be on here.
I just found the one with Dubuque and then you moved it. There it is, right where your curse is. Yeah.
Yeah.
14.
Yeah. I saw that. I was looking to see what other ones we had on here. We have the San Francisco one.
That's the San Bruno one. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
You mean what used to be Osh?
No.
No, the Lowe's over by Tanfran. There's a big Lowe's over there.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
It's
one
by
I-
it's by the Luckies.
It's less onerous to park
yeah,
at
yeah.
than the one in San Francisco.
Yes.
And then there was there's the place that replaced Osh down in Millbrae.
It's
Still called Osh, but
It's outdoor
Supply
hardware.
It's in hardware, yeah.
Version of it.
They've sort of updated, revamped it, but it's the same store.
It's just the Golden Nursery in San Mateo. Do you want me to
It wasn't
email
on
you
here.
this or just?
I am happy to add whichever additional nurseries to this list you would like. I'm not going to try to do that live here in the meeting, but we can edit this list as folks see
I'll send it
fit.
to you
I think also there was kind of a desire, especially if we're going to be sending certified mail, which does cost a bit more, to kind of keep to the nurseries that are in the immediate vicinity.
Well, I'd say we could send certified to most of these, but maybe skip the certification on the Lowe's and Home Depot as a compromise, or,
That sounds good, yeah.
because it's probably going to just be blowing in the wind anyway. At least until we find out who the corporate buyer is, and then they still probably won't care, but we can try.
So can you send us this list and the letter?
Well, I think this would probably be an invasive species subcommittee item, and they have the list and the letter.
So the one problem with that is that Sean is not on the invasive species committee. It's Jason and Glenn and I, and we want to use her expertise.
Yeah, and I
So-
was going to contribute to go through the different nurseries that I know and make sure they're on there, and maybe add Annie's Annuals and some of the other ones that do a brisk mail order business here in Brisbane.
I suppose if I send it out to the whole committee and they only respond to me with edits, that's acceptable. So we could do that.
Okay.
I I don't know if you want to necessarily edit the letter that way. I'm
No,
not sure how we do that with a subcommittee plus Shauna, because that does put us at 4.
Maybe we need to do
So-
it as an ad hoc thing.
I
Or
mean, you
could
still
we-
can't have 4, even if it's an ad hoc thing.
I know,
so-
but I was assuming if Shauna's willing to do it, that one of the invasive species
Sure.
committee members would be willing to
Bow out.
bow out for this one project. Maybe I'm
I would do
Jumping
that.
too
To
far.
move it forward, I'd bow out, or I'll bow in to go around to the places.
I mean, I ask Shauna.
Oh, yeah, we're volunteering you.
yeah.
Oh, I thought I was going to be fired. I'm being fired or hired? What?
Shauna, do you mind helping us with the table?
I would be delighted to help you with the table.
Excellent. So we're doing an ad hoc invasive species letter to nursery committee. And the membership will be Shauna, and does anyone else really, no, you just bought out.
I bought out. Okay, good. No, not me.
Would anyone else like to be on that committee? If not, I suggest that perhaps it's Glenn and I, because we're on the invasive species committee.
Yeah, but when it comes to going around to actually speaking to nurseries, I think anybody on the OSEC
Can do it.
volunteer to help
Yeah.
do that.
Well, this is
Perfect.
the drafting. This is writing the letter committee,
Yeah,
but not the walking around and saying hi to people.
Yeah.
right.
Does this mean we have to wait for the next OSEC
No,
committee for the letter to
no.
go out, or you trust?
No, I think what we'll do, we'll have a ad hoc subcommittee that of Shauna and Aaron and Glenn, unless there are any other changes to be made to that, to revise the body of the letter, including the list of plants and plant names that you want to include. I will separately send out the list of nurseries to the full committee, and if you have additions or suggested changes, you can send those, reply back to me with those. And I guess the question is, are we sending certified mail, or are we having folks go out in person, or both? Both.
I think both.
Right? I vote both.
Both, definitely both.
I think sending it certified mail makes it feel a little more official and important, and maybe people will actually remember getting it. Hopefully, maybe.
So
Fingers crossed.
that is all fine. However fast everyone wants to respond and the letter gets finished up, those certified mail can go out, probably within a week. I'm here in person at least once a week. But as far as divvying up who is going out to the in-person ones, I'm not sure how you want to tackle that. It could be in response to me sending out the list. You can say which ones you're willing to go visit. And if there's multiple people, we can coordinate accordingly. Or if folks don't know who signs up for one, we might have to assign more of them out next meeting or something.
Is there like Sign Up Monkey or something where you put your name by the one you want to do?
I think you can probably just, when you reply, why don't you just add a column
Okay,
here
sure.
Of who's going?
of,
yeah.
are you willing to go there?
How many places are there? I can't see the bottom, so I can't see
There
how many
are
records are there.
currently 26 on this list. And then whatever changes are made, there's also this removed from prior years list. This list is a few years old at this point, it looks like. So,
Yeah.
some of
That's about 4 each. We're all going to be clamoring to get the ones near here, so just take one near here and then 3 more where you have to haul your hiney to.
I'm going to let all mine go by certified mail, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it's 5 each?
is that a plan? Anything else?
3 or 4 each, I think.
I'm wondering whether maybe the ones that actually specialize in natives could just have a certified letter just saying, informing them of our new thing. I think we're preaching to the choir.
Now, has
on
anybody
this one.
seen
Yeah.
invasive species at a native nursery? Because, okay. Because, sometimes.
Well, unless you.
And is a site visit for a Lowe's where the person has no control over that.
Skip
it's a
it.
Minimum wage employee, going, oh.
Yeah,
that's
I think we
great.
can skip those.
I
Skip
think
those.
Lowe's and Home Depot, we can
Yeah.
skip the visits. If someone wants to research who the vice president in charge of ordering is, we could do that, but.
Yeah.
I'd love to see if our ad hoc subcommittee could take on that task as well.
Might be worth visiting Lowe's and Home Depot to photograph what they are selling and then kind of shame them about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nominate yourself for that.
Yeah, I'm in that kind of mood today.
Committee of one.
Is Sloat on here? I don't
Oh, yeah, I
remember
don't
seeing
see,
it.
I don't see Sloat on there.
Oh, that definitely needs to be on there.
Yeah. That's a big one.
They're
How'd we
huge.
miss that one?
Don't know.
I'm known up there. I'll go to Sloat. I bought pots.
How many stores does Sloat have these days? Is it just down to one?
No, 3 or 4.
They've got, I think, one in the East Bay and one in the north, up in San Rafael.
Okay.
and-
Okay.
But they don't have one down the peninsula anymore.
No, that,
Just the San Francisco. stuff.
yeah.
So we need to look up where they are and put them on the list.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds
Done.
like we have a plan.
You know, we might want to send this letter or a similar letter to anyone who has a business license in Brisbane and maybe some of the other cities for, garden work,
Landscape contractors, yeah.
landscape contractors.
Not certified, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Just decide if you want to do that under the regular invasive species committee or the ad hoc temporary,
I don't know, but
as long as
that's-
it's somebody's.
Why don't we get this list knocked out before,
Okay.
before we
Sure.
expand and sprawl here?
Okay.
Yeah, I would have
think
to
we got
check. I mean, I
26.
can't say that we're going to be able to do that for landscape contractors that have business licenses in other cities. In our own city, probably, but I
Good,
don't know.
Because, we're,
I don't know how they have the list all categorized and all of that.
Also, gardeners aren't necessarily contractors.
Also that,
And good luck
do they all
finding
get
them.
business licenses?
if they're doing business in Brisbane.
They're
they should
supposed to
a-
have.
They're
it
supposed to,
physically.
but-
Yeah.
So what we do is we go on next door and we say, looking for a gardener, and then we say, to give you this information.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's
Okay.
nice.
I know.
Onked.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
So we talked about the San Bruno Mountain celebration. We're going to, Michelle's going to reach out to Ariel and see if we can get more information, and then it's going to move to the events committee, subcommittee, excuse me. So I think we're ready for staff updates.
I just have a couple because I've been out sick a bunch, as you can probably tell. So my biggest exciting bit of news is that our sustainability fellow, our climate core fellow, is starting on Tuesday. So I'm super excited to have her joining us and have some help. She's going to be focused primarily on the building efficiency program and SB 1383. And her name is
Battery's dead.
Maria Alejandra Chase, and she should be with us at our next meeting. So I look forward to you all getting a chance to meet her. We got a heads up from Planet Geo, their tree inventory staff person reached out. They are going to be getting started with the local inventory at the end of March. So we're coordinating with them on GIS layers. We got priorities a while back from the tree subcommittee that we passed along to them. And we're going to just have a quick staff meeting with them tomorrow, just about any other particulars they need. We also got the concept plans for the pool electrification project, the heating electrification project. So those have been reviewed and comments sent back to them, and we expect to have those designs completed and an updated cost estimate by the beginning of April. And in the meantime, Peninsula Clean Energy's funding program is expecting to have their application period open sometime in March. So really good timing on that front. And then the last thing I will mention is that we had a RICAPS meeting yesterday focused on reach codes. So that conversation is being actively explored and discussed on what the options are and looking at what other cities are doing or thinking about doing. So I think we'll be ready for a subcommittee meeting probably sometime in the next month or so to pick that conversation back up. And I think that's all I had for today.
I just have a couple subcommittee updates, nothing on staff updates.
I have a question. Do you have any idea about when the environmental impact report is coming for the quarry development?
I feel like I maybe heard late spring, but please don't quote me on that.
I
probably
keep
shouldn't
hearing
even
spring. It's spring now. Almost spring.
Well, it's actually not spring until March 21st,
Okay.
and that runs through June 21st. So, so we're not there yet, and it may still be, June would still qualify as spring. So I can't tell you any more than that.
All right. Well,
Technically,
will you make
yes.
a note to let us know as soon as that's available?
I will share when we have news to share.
Okay. Thank you. I think, Mary, you're the one who has an event update. Didn't you do it's the science project. Isn't that an event?
I'm sorry, I didn't make that not gray at the bottom. It should be. I don't know if you want to go ahead and start with that one, Mary. You're more than welcome
Oh,
to.
I was thinking because that's an event. That's all. It's at the top.
I was out of town for most of January, so Mary had it all on her own this time.
So the Littman Science Fair happened, when did it happen? A couple weeks ago. So Erin actually volunteered to be a scientific judge and was up there with me while I was walking around judging the OSEC applicants. We chose we had 4 winners. I don't have the list with me.
If you give me a minute, I might.
But the event was really nice. It was really, there must have been like 150, 200 people in the hall.
Wow.
It was, I mean, all the parents were there, all the kids were there. They were all very excited. And this year I took a little different approach. I framed everything, brought them up to the stage, and I called their names out. It was like they were winning an Academy Award. They were so excited. But then I said something about each of their projects and how they have influenced, either climate change or, water or whatever the case was. But I chose 2 from the 8th grade, 1 from the 7th grade, and then I incorporated the 6th grade. And the parents and kids were so excited about the 6th grade because they don't get awards during that whole fair process. But as I was leaving, I had several parents come up to me, and they were impressed with the way we handled the OSEC awards. So hopefully we'll have more kids next year participating. But we did take pictures.
I think we used to do all that before the pandemic, so I guess it's a return to the good old days.
Yeah, I mean, it was crowded.
I have the list
you have the
if you'd
list.
like me to read them off.
Yeah, please, yeah.
So the OSEC awards were issued to Ava Larson for Tides of Toxins. And I understand from our Park and Rec staff that Ava is actually a Youth Advisory Committee member, a YAC member. To Juan Severino for Keep It Cool. Enzo Benedicto for Filtering Blackwater. And Ruby Sewell for Plants and Fertilizer. And then there was an honorable mention for Jenica Tolentino for the Monochromatic Room.
That's, yeah.
I'll go with Tides of Toxins for 400.
Yeah, well, Tides of Toxins, it was interesting because she brought up the fact that Hawaii doesn't allow you to use any type of, or they don't promote sunscreens that have chemicals in them because
Yeah, you have to use mineral sunscreen when you're there because
I mean, I didn't know that, and I said,
there's
oh
the
my
whole,
gosh.
they all start with oxy something.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you their chemical names off the top
There's
of my
two
head,
of
but
them, two top.
they both start with oxy something.
Yeah.
And they're very toxic to the reefs, so they ask you not to wear
But
those.
she also she won the OSUC award, and then she
$500
actually
fine.
won one of the scientific awards as well.
Yeah, it's a $500 fine in Maui County to, which
If they
includes,
catch you, yeah.
Oahu and everything.
That was eye opening. It was eye opening for a lot of folks there. So
Mary, you did an excellent job. I read the whole article that was, it showed everything and the kids with their pictures and all that. Really
you
well
did?
done, you
Where-
guys.
Oh, okay.
Really well
I
done.
didn't know. Okay, perfect.
I can't take any credit for that at all, actually, because I didn't get to, I was specifically told not to do the OSEC judging. I was just doing the science fair judging.
I'm like,
We had an event. We had the Habitat Restoration Day, and it was excellent. We had 3 OSEC members, Jason and Aaron and me. And it was really a really great day. We also had 3 San Bruno Mountain board members as well. And it was challenging because Ariel had an out-of-town emergency, and 2 of Mountain Watch's new fellows, except they're women. It always sounds weird to call them fellows, but led the restoration project, and it was really good. We planted lupin seeds up on Clippy Hill, and we also pulled broom. And we had about 30 people, right, Aaron?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And also, because it was so moist, the weed pulling was so easy. It was wonderful. I
Yeah.
highly recommend damp ground.
Very
lawn pulling.
therapeutic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tried to sign up late. It was about 3 days ahead of time and was prevented from doing so because I heard it was limited to 25 people. And so I could not sign up. And so I did not come. So I'm wondering what that's all about.
Yeah, Ariel had it set at, I think, 25 or 30 for
It was
this one.
25.
25. And then people still came that didn't sign up. But
Okay.
I don't know why he did that this time. I think because we weren't sure how many people we were going to be able to handle up there. I don't know.
Okay.
I did talk to him briefly about that, but. Okay. You didn't set any kind of number of people for him on that? Okay.
No,
right.
no, that
Yeah.
was done on their end. I wasn't aware of it until you told me
Yeah.
about the sign up issue. So
Maybe relax that limit a little bit.
Oh, we will. I think it was just a really challenging time because Ariel had to go out of town right away because it's a personal issue. So, yeah. And then that was it.
Education and outreach.
oh, that would be Glenn and I and Adrian met regarding first the library display, and then secondly our campaign to combat litter in Brisbane. And so we came up with several ideas and threw out an idea about the grabbers, right? So the grabbers that, the grabbers that pick up trash. So we talked about having a sign up for a free grabber and get a free bag and pick up garbage when you have a chance to do so. That could help with cleaning up the streets and cleaning up the trail. The trail there's a lot of garbage on Crocker Trail. And so I believe, Adrian, you were going to check on whether or not the grant that you have would be able to fund the free grabbers.
and I have not had a chance to check on
Okay.
that yet. Sorry.
Okay.
We can definitely purchase grabbers. The question is whether we can give them away to people.
Okay.
I know we can purchase the grabbers with those grant funds, like for us to use at Coastal Cleanup Day, or if we had a checkout program, I think that would be eligible, but they have a lot of restrictions on giving things away to people.
Yeah,
So I don't know if this would,
Could they be checked out at the library?
I think probably if we did something like that, we would be able to fund them with this grant program. But yeah, I think the idea of just like giving them to individuals for free might run afoul. So I'm probably going to have to reach out to Cow Recycle and ask that, because I think that's going to be too specific to really be covered under their grant guidelines.
It might also be nice to have them for Coastal Cleanup Day.
Yeah, I had already actually planned to get some for Coastal Cleanup Day through this fund, so we'll definitely be doing that in any case. But just how many we order and how exactly we use them, we might vary depending on what we're allowed to do with the grant funds.
Depending on when they show up, I would also like to plant the seed that this could be something that's done on May 11 or 24.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good idea. Yeah. So in addition to the grabbers and hopefully decreasing the amount of litter we see, we also talked about different posters that we could print up to put in the different businesses, and actually maybe go to the Chamber of Commerce and get them to advocate with other businesses about the litter reduction plan, and maybe just go, business to business and provide some posters and some grabbers, and, have them participate as well. Is there anything else?
So some of the posters have been made already?
Yeah.
Caroline. Caroline
Yeah, I saw those, yeah.
Yeah.
But I did like the one that it was the bird with.
The albatross?
Yeah, the albatross, yes.
Did you see Caroline made some revisions and
Yes.
resent them? So I'm not sure if you saw those. I don't think she had heard back from anybody on the subcommittee about that. She did go ahead and put that revised version in the Star for next month because she needed to go to print and hadn't heard. So if you're okay with that version and want that to be something that we print for distribution more widely, we can do that. Or if you want other revisions, get back to her that way. I think she said in addition to the Star, there were, I think maybe it was the previous version that were posted at Littman for this before the science fair.
Yeah.
And then I think she put one of the revised ones up in the board outside the new library, or the kind of where the flyers are outside the new library. But we haven't distributed them more widely because she wasn't sure if you guys wanted more changes. So that's kind of where that
I will look.
is at right now.
So we're off to a good start, I think.
Oh, we also talked about getting some anti-littering signs of a kind of humorous nature. Are we still moving on that?
Sorry, guys. Literally been sick for like the last month, so I have not been able to keep up on all the things.
worries.
But separately, this is quasi-related at least. The poop fairy signs, some of those did happen. I think that had actually come up also as a suggestion from Councilmember Cunningham, and so I don't know who, Caroline and team went ahead and bought, 5 or 6 of them that they posted around town at some of the busy or problematic spots for doggy doo.
I saw one. Yeah.
So those have happened, but sorry, I haven't been able to make progress on some of those other items yet.
That was a very good idea because there have been a lot of complaints on Facebook about dog poop.
Yeah.
A lot. I think we're done.
We haven't met, have we? Unless I like spaced it. Or I was out of town, so.
No, I think we're kind of waiting on what's going on with the state. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if we could probably meet again in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, there's, we're active conversation happening. So, we may have more to discuss in the next 2 or 3 weeks. If you want to try to schedule something, not immediately, but a few weeks out, that might.
My March and April are horrible, so if it's just information, I would say keep punting it down the road. But if you think we can actually start planning something, I'm all for it.
I will have a better answer on the direct. Probably what we'll do is I'll wait to kind of get some answers on some of the questions that are actively being discussed right now, and then be in touch with you guys. And if it is a yes, we're going to proceed down this pathway, then there might be a reason for the subcommittee to meet and discuss and provide input on that. But otherwise, yes, I think there's probably some time.
I appreciate that. Thank
Okay, sure.
On the open space plan update, Mary and Karen and I met, and we're working on, we reviewed what we're going to put in the online version of the open space plan to incorporate the changes that we made for the acres qualifications for priority, what do we call it again?
Preservation area.
Yeah, priority preservation area. I wanted to say priority conservation, priority preservation area, and update the map showing the lots that are available to be funded for purchase by the city. And we also talked about getting the letters out, getting the letters looked at and out. And did you find out, Karen, whether the letter is able to come from the OSEC committee as opposed?
Get that far, but I did get the revised map and just before the meeting sent around
Okay,
the amendment for you guys to look at to be ready to
yeah.
post that. But I did not get the information on the letters yet.
I'm sorry, I can hardly hear
I
you.
didn't get the information on the letters yet.
Okay, so maybe we could meet again this month before the next meeting so we can get that done?
Well, I need to just check with the city attorney, so I don't know.
Okay.
Do we need to meet? I can,
All right.
let's try by email, see if that works.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed that meeting, but could you give me can somebody send me like a little synopsis of what was discussed?
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Or can I just call you and tell you everything?
You may do that.
Okay.
And we also talked about the next area within the open space
Plan.
yeah, to start looking at. I can't remember the name of it, but it's
It's
Down.
down, yeah, the area that is
down
Beacon
Bayshore.
Handicraft and Levinson property
Okay,
area.
yeah, okay, okay.
Northwest Bay Shore is what it's called.
Northwest Bayshore, yes.
Okay, moving on to the Crocker Trail frog habitat.
Unfortunately, the drainage changes we tried to make don't seem to be working. I have made the request to meet with the property owner about doing the other work down further east on the channel, but I haven't heard back yet.
Invasive species. So earlier we talked about the letter, and I think that's the only work the committee has done the following month.
I've been communicating with the city attorney, but that's kind of, they've had other priorities, so in terms of getting.
Could
Why-
you speak
I
up a
don't know
little bit?
why we can't hear you, Karen.
I know, I got
Yeah, we can't.
mic on, how's that?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
better.
Get close. I'm trying to work with the city attorney on getting the changes to the ordinance. It's not been either of our top priorities, so I have some more time opening up though now to try to get that moving along.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, working with city attorney. Let's see, dark skies ordinance.
We should
I would just-
probably, go ahead.
Oh, I would like to say that I saw some of the material that the cities put out, like stuff on the website. I think it's coming along really well, and I love it. And I'm gonna bet that I want to second whatever you have to say, Barbara.
I was just going to say, I think we should meet and actually start planning our education outreach. I know you staff wanted us to do that before the ordinance was finished, but we just felt like I personally felt that we needed to focus on getting the ordinance finished first because it was taking was being so glacial. But now that it's done, I'm totally happy to meet and discuss education and outreach.
Yeah, I saw it in the Luminary too, which was, they did a really nice presentation, and tick, 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 tomorrow is the last day before the ordinance goes into effect. Yay!
Yes. I will say, so yes, staff has been very busy on putting together all of that material, including the website and the content that will be in the Star that you'll probably be seeing Friday or somewhere thereabouts in the Luminary website, on social media and whatnot. Talking with police and code enforcement about enforcement, and already getting a decent amount of public kind of feedback or input, which I don't know, surprisingly or not, maybe a little bit surprisingly to me, hasn't been of the vein of, why are you doing this? I can't believe you're doing this, but more on the front of like, I think there are some expectations that like starting March 1st, there's going to suddenly be a lot of changes that are not actually going to take place for some time. So I think there's going to probably be some misconceptions that we will have to deal with and address. And, you know, we may be getting complaints. This was some of the conversation with code enforcement, complaints about things that people technically have quite a good amount of time before they actually have to change. So that I think is actually going to be quite a challenge for us.
Well, maybe, you know, there was a whole bunch of stuff I thought about that never got incorporated for reasons. But, you know, if the city receives a complaint about a specific address, then maybe the city just mails them a letter that says, hey, have you considered whether or not this light is, you can choose to voluntarily comply at this point with this ordinance. And have you thought about doing that? Because I have a feeling a lot of people, you know, from the reaction we've had on social media are just like, yeah, I want to do it all on board. And maybe they just don't know that this particular light is a problem. So they might I feel like the overall reaction would be appreciation.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll always be a few people who are like, you know, get off my lawn, but.
Yeah. That was the conversation with code enforcement as well, is to inform people that there are complaints about certain lighting that they do technically have time to fix, but they are certainly welcome to change before that deadline, and that might be a good neighborly thing of them to do. And code enforcement seems pretty willing to have those kinds of conversations. So I think that probably will be taking place a good amount.
Yay. I mean, I changed my lights out.
So let's set up a meeting and keep moving on this agenda for down to tree issues.
Yeah. I don't even know where we're at on tree issues. Frankly, it's been so long since we met, I've completely forgotten.
Well, we haven't done the training yet because I really feel like if we're going to do the training, we need to have all three of us do it. And if any one of us can't make it or
Yeah, I
then
mean,
we
I was
haven't-
laid off for like 2 or 3 months, and unfortunately that went by, and now I'm working, 11 hours a day, so it's gonna just be hard for me. So I either needs to be on a weekend, or I need to step back, and I'm not sure it's really fair to ask these people to work on the weekend. Maybe it is. Maybe they have weekend hours.
I don't generally. I said I don't generally have weekend.
Yeah, so I think at this point, I sent the email saying I'm out, because I just don't think it's realistic.
I think we should probably discuss here who can
Yeah.
participate in that. I mean, we can certainly do it on an evening. I think that is probably possible, especially if we can find a Wednesday evening to do it. But if that's going to be more problematic, then I would suggest we discuss here who is going to participate and go forward with scheduling with that group.
Yeah, I mean, I could potentially do it on a Wednesday evening, but I don't want you guys to hold up on me anymore. I mean, I was wide open. Like I could have done it any time for months and
Can I vote we have that discussion under the tree issues subcommittee, and then if you guys decide you've got an open spot, you figure out who you want to reach out to?
I want to have a who is the next to pull from the full committee, because I think one of the things is if we're subbing someone in, who is that person? I want everybody on OSEC to have equal opportunity to decide amongst yourselves who is the person who is stepping in, and not have that be something that we are picking and choosing in the absence of you guys having that opportunity to step up or step back.
Train on the tree thing, I'll offer. I don't do that many, so if.
Okay, so Jason is interested. Is there any opposition to him being the backup? Do we need a second backup?
I just want, you'll be technically savvy, right? Because this is training on this software so you're up for that. Just want to make sure. Yeah. Good. Because I'm.
I got an iPhone. I can open it. I can make it calls.
Yay. Okay. Because I'm concerned that we know how to use it, and that it's just not on one or two people. I would love the whole committee to learn how to use it. But
yeah, I mean, that seems the right answer to me, but
Yeah.
for whatever reason, we're not there.
yeah. So good. Thank you for stepping up, Jason.
Thank you.
Any other people that want to be in the background of that? I don't know Maple from Sycamore, so it doesn't make sense for me to be me.
Yeah, it's more about learning how to use the software and for the training part. Yeah.
Glad you have such resounding confidence in me.
I do. I just wanted to make clear what we were doing.
It's true. I thought it was about trees, so it's the software training.
It's the software training. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, moving on down. Bayland specific plan. I am going to take a guess that no one's done anything since we did the draft EIR. But I would like to remind everybody that it's coming.
Yeah.
So
Do we have a tentative date yet?
we think it's going to be after the quarry, and we think the
Spring.
quarry is going to be in
All
the
right.
In
spring.
spring.
Spring of
That's what I heard.
2024,
that's
2025.
literally not our
2026.
department. No, we don't probably have any more information than you guys do on these things. My understanding is they will not be simultaneous.
All right. Cool.
So the changes that we proposed for the draft EIR, I know,
The
how do we know?
changes that you
Yeah.
proposed
Oh,
for
no,
the
we
draft
provided input.
Input,
So
sorry,
that they
input, yeah.
could
On the
address
NOP?
them in the draft EIR.
Right, so,
And I think that's the thing that we think comes out in the spring, right?
okay. I just
Best
hopefully we'll
I
see
know.
our changes.
Yeah.
Our input, yeah.
Our input addressed,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Moving on to calendar items. Where are we?
I don't really have a whole lot on this that's new. So unless anybody has any questions, Earth Day will be on April 20th.
Did we have another event that was on Earth Day as well scheduled, or am I confused?
No, we do have an event scheduled on Earth Day,
April 20th.
April 20th.
Yeah, the habitat event. We will have a compost giveaway sometime around then. I need to coordinate with Scavenger on exactly when they'll be able to deliver that. But we usually have been trying to do that around then the last couple of years.
Okay.
In fact, I think I saw that I have a reminder on my calendar for March 1st to reach out for them to start scheduling that, so.
Okay.
Wait, I thought I had Earth Day in my calendar. It's not here. the 23rd?
So don't,
Actual Earth Day is April 22nd. The event this year is Saturday, April 20th.
So Adrian, I'm looking at your calendar and it says canceled June.
Yes. I will be at the California Climate and Energy Conference in Palm Springs. That's literally that day. Yes, it's going to be nice and toasty, hot. I don't know if anybody heard me talking to Alero about this briefly before we got started. June 25th and 26th, Palm Springs. So I will not be here that day. And we have in the past occasionally had a summer break. So that's my proposal, is to do that then.
When have we had a summer break? Am I just completely forgetting this? What? When have we had a summer break? I can't remember. I remember having a Christmas break.
I have no problem with that.
yeah, we have had a summer
Okay.
break. Yeah. But I thought it was usually in August, not June.
Yeah.
but Whatever.
Whatever, it doesn't matter when. I
it's
just
June.
remember doing that.
Anything on the calendar? Ready to
Don't we
move on?
need to move up the invasive species letters to nurseries to, it's now scheduled for April. Don't we want to do that in March?
Yeah.
I will get them out in March if they're ready to go out.
Okay. And then chair and committee member matters. That's us. And then next meeting,
Did anybody have any?
sorry. I forget, I just think of this as being the same as announcements. Next meeting.
March 27th, okay.
Awesome. I think we're adjourned. Yeehaw. Bump.